As this CNBC article says, OPEC deal collapse sparks price war. $20 oil in 2020 is coming. And as this article goes into, scrolling down below the photo, it says experts are calling dramatically lower crude prices as major OPEC and non-OPEC producers prepare for an all-out price war in a sudden U-turn from previous attempts to support the oil markets as the new coronavirus hammers global demand. And I quote, $20 oil in 2020 is coming. Ali Kaderi, formerly Exxon senior Middle East advisor and now CEO of US-based strategy firm Dragoman Ventures, wrote Sunday on Twitter, huge geopolitical implications, timely stimulus for net consumers, catastrophic for failing petro kleptocracies, Iraq, Iran, etc., may prove existential. 1-2 punch when paired with COVID-19. The comment came as oil prices are down 30% for the year and a day after Saudi Arabia announced massive discounts to its official selling prices for April. Plunging price forecasts are also coming amid reports of a possible increase in production by the OPEC kingpin from its current 9.7 million barrels per day, BPD, to more than 10 million barrels per day. And it shows this tweet here. Ali Kaderi says $20 oil in 2020 is coming. Huge geopolitical implications, timely stimulus for net consumers, catastrophic for failing petro kleptocracies, Iraq, Iran, etc. may prove existential. 1-2 punch when paired with COVID-19. So I'm going to move on to the next article, also out of CNBC, that says Saudi Aramco shares fall below IPO price for first time. The Abu Dhabi index fell 5.8%. Dubai's financial market general index was down 7.47%, and Kuwait's index had plunged by 10% at 1:30 p.m. Dubai time. Let's go to you, Tim. I want to hear your thoughts on this oil madness. This talk about seeing oil at $20. What do you think? Is this possible? What does this mean?
Well, the first thing is, I guess $20 is $20, but no. Anyways, with how all this is going down, isn't it very funny that when they being the Saudis, were trying to do their Aramco IPO, that all of a sudden there was these drone strikes going on in where was it? The whole Iranian thing was going on that temporarily then drove the price of oil dramatically higher, which then helped out dramatically with the IPO price. So now that they've IPO'd and they've already been able to cash in on this IPO, now all of a sudden isn't a great time to then crash the oil price, and then that way you make a lot of your American competitors, especially people who've been fracking a lot of the shale oil stuff. And this is a problem that I've been talking, and believe me, I'm not some like big greeny guy over here that's just talking about how we need to go save the world and everything needs to be green. But I did see that there were some big problems when it came to fracking. Primarily, a lot of these companies, they would have tons and tons of debt that they have to go take out. That debt was only basically able to be serviced if oil was above like $70, $80, $90 a barrel. So then what they do is these wells were only really a lot of these. I'm not an expert in shale oil, but my preliminary understanding of these was that a lot of these shale oil wells could not be, the amount of oil that you could suck out of them was a very short lifespan compared to a traditional oil well. So let's say you can only, extract oil. I'm just making up a number here. Let's say for 8 years, but then you go sell a 15-year bond, and then oops, you're bankrupt, and now you've extracted all these resources out, and now you've left a gigantic mess. And so I have not been a gigantic fan of this fracking and shale, expansion just because of that. And again, I'm not some leftist, greeny, need to go save the world and Greta Van Susteren type over here. It's just from a financial standpoint.
You mean Greta Thunberg? Yeah. Greta Van Susteren.
I don't even know who that is. I don't even know who that is, but who is?
That's well, she was on Fox News years ago.
Okay, all right, okay, all right. I guess I know who that. See, I'm actually glad that I don't. I'm actually glad that I messed it up and didn't know who they were. But yeah, how fitting though is it that when it benefits Saudis to have the price of oil high, boom, we get high oil, which was also right around the time all this whole repo madness started. So that was literally the same day. So I think it was September 16th or 17th. You had that drone strike that happened. It got blamed on, the whole Iran Saudi thing. It got blamed on that. That was the same time that the oil price started spiking. The same time that the repo market started breaking down, where all of a sudden the banks were getting charged 10% overnight to borrow money. Same day. So it's very funny that these happen on the exact same time frame of things. But
Right.
it is but interesting that right when it benefits Saudi to have the price of oil high, they get high oil, and right when it benefits them to have it low and consolidate through all their enemies, then they start pumping more to then be able to buy up their competitors at lower rates. I mean, that's just sort of what I think at a quick glance of what's going on, but who the heck knows.
How do you think this is going to affect the average consumer the most? I mean, obviously, cheap gas prices aren't the worst thing in the world.
Well, no, like in 2008, which, great time for me to graduate college. So I guess I am dating myself. So I remember I graduated and I was living in upstate New York, and here I am, taking a commission financial advisor sales job and making nothing. And, gas was about like $4.30 a gallon. And that was headed into the financial crisis. And then even as we're like already into the financial crisis, I remember gas was already at $4. And so this could be another one of those moves that could actually keep this whole debt carousel going round and round and round further, because this then helps out the average consumer, because one of the biggest things they spend money on, let's say you're poor and you've got to drive a certain amount every month, because you got to drop your kids off of school, you got to go to work, all blah 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 blah, and now the price of oil is a very big fixed cost for a lot of people. And now if you see that fixed cost drop, and then, that could be something that could help, save the GDP, along with people buying toilet paper at Costco and big box retailers. So isn't that funny that, people basically prepping now is like the only thing that's really, saving the economy, so to speak. But I do see this being one other move that then keeps this whole, debt carousel spinning round and round and round even further.
Saudi Arabia doesn't seem super sustainable to me long term. Obviously, you have these major deals between these countries: China, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Russia, Iran, whatever you might. I mean, there's major coalitions worldwide, and Saudi Arabia is heavily involved in a lot of these coalitions. You see that in Canada as well. Huge arms deals and huge monopolization by other countries, who, by the way, will steal people's money and then spend more money sending money over to Saudi Arabia than they'll spend on homeless people on the streets, but the people that they put there in the first place. But I mean, I don't know. Going forward, do you think how sustainable do you find the Saudi Arabian empire, Tim? I mean, I feel like they're losing relevance, especially losing popularity from both sides of the aisle these days.
Well, wasn't there another big shakeup in the royal family just recently? I've only seen headlines, so I'm not an expert in that. But it does appear that even the Saudi royals even know that the gig is sort of up, because I think you've seen a big diversification play into making a big like tourist area. Like, I don't know if they want to turn Saudi Arabia into like a big like Disney World or sort of.
Well, they started opening up a lot of ancient sites in Saudi Arabia after there's a shakeup within the family. Multiple people disappeared, were imprisoned, died. Then obviously we remember the Khashoggi situation. And a bunch of princes were recently rounded up and questioned. I'm not sure what's really happening there. It's the House of Saud in Saudi Arabia, of course. And honestly, I'm just excited to see what happens next, because Saudi Arabia has been implicated in 9/11 alongside the U.S. government, obviously. And I think it's about time that they're held somewhat accountable. It's amazing how little people seem to care about one of the most dangerous countries in the world as far as individual freedoms and, all these feminists that go on in the United States and don't talk at all about the massive problem with women's rights in a place like Saudi Arabia, gays thrown from buildings. I mean, like, why do we just turn a blind eye? Oh, right, sponsors, money. It's always about that. You see that in Hollywood. Hollywood decides what we think about and what we talk about, though us in independent media do our best to try to shake that up a bit. But nonetheless, that's
getting into like Amber Lyon of CNN. Was it Qatar?
I definitely remember Amber Lyon. I talked with her years ago. She's been missing in action for years, but yeah, she was on CNN and she called out Bahrain. Basically CNN had a deal with the Bahrain government, and they covered up the whole story, where it was just absolutely disgusting what the Bahrain government was doing to activists over there. But anyway, we'll get into this issue further in the future. There's a lot to talk about on the issue of Saudi Arabia, lots to talk about in the stock market, lots to talk about with oil. So stay tuned for more, guys. guys.
Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, subscribe star. We really can't do it without you. We've been so insanely shadow banned, about 90% at this point, and 95% demonetized. As Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, comes in and says that she is shutting down quote-unquote controversial content and cutting out the views on this controversial content by 70%. She's been bragging about it. We need your help more than ever in this battle for truth in information. You guys are what keeps us alive, so we really appreciate just even $1 a month makes a huge difference. If everyone could give just $1 a month, we wouldn't even have to worry about competing against the mainstream propaganda networks. You can also donate to our Bitcoin address on the screen for you to scan if you please, as well as in the comments and description. Liking and sharing makes a big difference as well, and finding us on alternative social media platforms like float.app, that's flote.app, makes a huge difference. We're at Josh Sigurdson as well as at Wham. Float is replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one with encrypted private messaging, and of course monetization on videos for creators, live streams with super chats in crypto, and most of all, no algorithm, because at the end of the day, it's all about reach, guys. This is all about actually reaching people with the message and waking up the public. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Minds, BitChute, all sorts of different platforms. Try to follow us on as many things as possible, because very soon this channel will very likely just be completely deleted from YouTube, and you'll never see us again, and you'll be stuck with only the mainstream networks. Also, come on out and see us at Anarcho Vegas 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada in July, where such speakers such as G. Edward Griffin and many others will be speaking. You could use promo code WHAM on your VIP tickets and save 10%, as well as buy extremely cheap tickets for just $20.20. You won't find a cheaper conference than this with such amazing names. Check anarchovegas.com for more information on that. We hope to see you out there. And anyway, I really appreciate all of you guys joining us. You make it possible for us to survive in this volatile, propagandized climate. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.